Hi and welcome back to Stitch and Sprinkles. Today I'm going to show you how I made this needle felted cowgirl boot. I'm really pleased with the way that this turned out and I really enjoyed making it. So to make the cowgirl boot, I've got my core wool. I've got 10 grams which I'm going to use for the leg part, and 5 grams which I'm going to use for the foot part. I've got some white wool, I've got some light pink, and I've got some darker pink. Obviously I've got my needle felting mat, and I've got my multi needle, and then I've got a single needle which is a 36. Okay, so I'm going to grab my 10 grams of core wool and I'm just going to roll this up. You want to roll it as tight as possible because you're going to reduce the amount of time that you're felting for. And then I start with my single needle and work to my multi needle, and you're just going to go over this to secure it into this round shape, oblong, or whatever you call a round-ish shape, long shape. Right. Now I'm going to grab my multi needle. Now the top part, you need to decide what's going to be the top. Actually, I might have this as the bottom because I'm going to leave it open a bit, because this is where I will felt on once I've needle felted this into a round bit, and that will felt on and go there. But the top, we can felt that in. You want to try and create a roundish sort of shape at the top. And I'm just going to keep working this all over until this is all nice and firm, and then it's firm up the top and rounded, and then we've got some loose fibres at the bottom. Okay, so now I've got my top of the boot shape. I've tried to round it off a little bit at the top and give a rough sort of shape. It's still got some squidge, but it is firm. And then, as I say, I've tried to bring it in narrower here, just starting to get the shape. But I mean, you really don't need to refine it at this point. And then it comes out a bit wider at the top. And then I've left the bottom bit spread out because this is what I'm going to wrap round this once I've tweaked it. So I'm going to roll, this is my 5 grams of core wool into the cylinder sort of shape that I had before, and again felt this just so it all sticks into the shape that we want to then work on. So just in case you're wondering as well how long, this took me about 5 minutes to firm this up and get this shape. Obviously I just sped the video up because I'm sure you don't want to sit there just watching me poke my needle into a piece of wool. Check your shape and size against your boot. Okay, yep, that looks about right. And now you can secure this on because you've got your shape, it's fixed in. You know roughly where you want it to sit. Fold the back around and then the front and sides all around. And then just felt this excess wool that we had from our top around and into the sole of the boot. Now we're just going to work on trying to get our boot shape now that the two are attached. Feel free to go up the base of the boot to poke it into the long part. So make sure you look at it this way and the shape, bearing in mind that a cowgirl or cowboy boot comes into a point at the front. So you want to make sure that you're happy that the shape is forming in the right way. Helps, you can always use your single needle to help refine the point. Now we're starting to get our point at the tip there, which is good. So, but that feels quite soft and squidgy, so I'm just going to felt that down. Now with a cowboy boot, they come down and they tend to almost dip a little bit here, and they're a bit chunkier at the toe and here. So I'm just trying to create that indentation. And I go back to my single needle to just put in any details as I sort of want them rather than the multi-needle. Also, they have a ridge going up here, so we're going to start felting that in, and then we're going to put on a bit of a heel. Okay, so we're getting quite a good shape now on our sole. And I'm quite happy with that, just refining slightly with the single needle. And then I've got the curve there, and now I'm going to work on this and shaping the top part round and firming up the I need to find out what this part's called. Once you're happy with the sort of curved shape, I'm going to poke down the middle to create an indentation, so almost like that you can stick a finger in. That's going to help define your curves at the sides. Might be able to use our multi-needle for this too. Careful of your fingers. So basically what I've created at the top there is sort of like like a hot dog bun. You would put your hot dog in the middle, really. That's what it sort of reminds me of. Probably not a very good description, but And then once you're happy with your shape and you've defined it all, I might work on my heel a little bit more. We will then be on to covering. So I've finished felting my Cowgirl boot out of the core wall. This has got a nice shaping detail, and I've got the, reminds me of like a hot dog bun groove at the top, and you can see the indentation for the heel. So next up, I'm going to move on to covering it and putting the design on it. To do this, I've got some white wool, light pink, dark pink and black. I've got a selection of needles, and I have a spiral needle because this is going to give it a really nice smooth finish. So I'm going to start with my white wool, and I'm just going to break off some of this. I might use this bit. And then I'm going to wrap this round because I want to cover the top part of the boot. So I'm going to use my multi-needle just to attach this to the core wool. So I've just switched to my single needle to do the inside of the boot. Once you're happy that all your core wool is covered on there, then I'm just going to grab my spiral needle and just go over the white all round this part, just attaching it to the core wool and trying to get a bit of a smoother finish. Just make sure you have a look at it from all angles. You can always, if you've got any little needle holes in there, just give it a little rub with your hand if you want to. So once you're happy that that's all covered and the white is secured onto your core wool, next up, I think I'm going to make it dark pink on the bottom. So I'm going to grab some of my dark pink, and I'm going to start by trying with my single needle, trying to create a bit of a point on my mat. So I'm just trying to create a little bit of a point so that I can get that sort of detail that cowboy boots have. So where I want my point positioned, put that on the boot, try and get the point in the centre-ish, and then use I've just got my spiral needle here, and try and create a bit of a line down the white. And I'm just going to felt the pink over the toe of the boot. Okay, so you can see that I've created that point, and now I'm going to start coming round the side to to build up my shape. Start to bring that up and round the back. So now I've covered the bottom of my boot in the dark pink, and I'm happy that it's all evenly covered and I've got the shape that I want. I'm now going to add some dark pink to the top. I've just pulled off a piece here, and then I'm going to lay this on here, working out how far I want it to come down. It's probably best to start a little bit less than what you want, because you can always add more. And then I'm just gonna start lightly felting that into place. Just folding it over the top as I go, but I don't really want it right the way inside. I'm going to come round the front, curve that round, and then back up the other side. Once you're happy that you've got a nice straight line and then it curves round, and you're happy with your shape, if you're not, you can always, if you feel like it just dips down a little bit, just push your needle in and just lift it back up and then secure it into place that way. And then you just get a nice straighter line or curve. So I'm happy with that. It's not patchy at all. So next up, I am going to get some of my light pink and roll this between my fingers. And with this, I'm just going to create the line down the side of the boot. And I'm just going to use my needle and go down, poking that into place. And then I'm just going to trim that off at the bottom. And then I'm going to grab some more of my light pink and try and create a little strip. I might do it on here first. And all I'm trying to do with this is create a bit to go at the top. So secure that into place there and then bring it round and just below the rim of the boot. So now I'm happy with this. I'm going to turn my boot over and I'm going to create another thin strip to go down there just by rolling the wool in my fingers. Once you're happy that's secure, again, just trim off. And then I'm going to create my loop to go at the top. Just sort of checking the thickness against the other side so that they're about the same. And then work out where I want that to sit, which is about there. And just fold it over. A little bit longer than I want it, so I'm just gonna trim that bit off. I'm actually just creating a slight point on there. Because I like the look of that. I think I'm going to add the black in this time. Roll a little bit up in my fingers. Into a little bowl and then felt that there for a button. Same on the other side. So now that's all done, all that's left to do is add on a design. to the white part of the boot, and for that I'm gonna get my light pink, roll it between my fingers, felt it in a straight line, trim it off both ends, do the same again, and then a little bit more, and just create a star. I don't know if you can see that, but I've just sort of felted in a little star, and I'm just going to create that all over the boot. And there you go, I've added all the stars to my boot. As a final touch, I'm going to grab some little bits of the dark pink, roll this up between my fingers into a little ball. And then just add these in randomly. So the stars you can't see that well, which is a bit of a shame. But the dots, so you've got the dots and the stars. And once you're happy with this, all that is left to do is add on the heel. For this, I'm going to grab some of the black. Now you need to decide how thick you want this to be. In actual fact, I'm going to start by putting on my sole. there we've got our bit around the front. We can neaten it all up in a minute now. So now I'm going to work on my heel, and I'm going to grab a strip. And then just place this on the heel of the boot. And there you go. There is the Cowgirl boot all finished. I hope you enjoyed this. I really enjoyed making this. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up and give this a like. And if you want to see more things like this, please hit subscribe. Let me know in the comments below if you tried this and how you got on with it. But I am really happy with the way this has turned out. Thank you.